There's about 2% of the population is autistic, but it's really only in the last 20 years that they really properly started diagnosing people. And so if you go back in time, if you're in your 30s and up, there's a whole population of people that have never been diagnosed that have no idea they're autistic. And once you realize it, it's like so many things make sense to you. And so you're like, oh, you like relive all of your life events and all your successes and failures. And I can tie almost everything back to that.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today, I'm with Peter Mann, the CEO and founder of Virginia-based Oransi, a leading air purification company known for its efficient, intuitive, and reliable products for consumers, schools, organizations, and businesses. He also is the chair of the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers, and in 2021 merged with Aviemore Technologies and is now a motor technology company with a clean energy mission. Oransi's new manufacturing facility in Radford, Virginia, is making products in the United States with advanced motor technologies. Previously, he was the founder and CEO of the Austin, Texas-based Alen Corp, an air purification company he built, and after 7 years had a successful exit. He went to college on a Navy ROTC scholarship and then served 4 years, including a tour in the Red Sea during the First Gulf War. Peter Mann, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Michael, for having me.
Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm really excited to get to know you and your journey and talk a little bit about something that I'm not used to talking about, but I'm looking forward to getting excited about it through your own lenses, air purification, also from an entrepreneurship and leadership angle. So again, thank you for spending this time with me. Let's just start, right where the elephant is, air purification. How does one get into this industry?
Yeah, so I got started about 20 years ago, and it was when my son suffered with asthma. And so just, watching him not breathe and change color, it kind of left an impression on me. And, the normal route is you go to the doctor and they give you steroids or, things like that, which have side effects, which aren't great. And so, I was like, gosh, there's got to be maybe some way to maybe lessen his asthma attacks. And so I started, around 2002 looking into air purification. And at that time I was at Dell. I was a senior manager over the software and peripherals group. And so we managed everything but the computers from a marketing standpoint. So that would be the printers, the consumables, everything, monitors, all that kind of stuff. And I started an e-commerce business at night with another guy in Austin. And after about 6 months, it got to where I didn't need to work at Dell anymore. I had no MBA or business classes in college. I was more engineering. And so I'm like, I really don't know what I'm getting into. But it was a way to get started without having so much risk. It was just, you just put in more time. It was, my 7 to 11 p.m. job until it got going. And then I left and I really got it started by just reselling other people's air purifier products to really learn the market. And then after a couple of years, connected with some Chinese factories and started to brand our own products.
Wow. And right before we're going to dive into this a little bit later and what you're doing specifically today with Oransi. One of the I generally don't. The fun fact is for the more for the metadata or the description of the show. But here, I'd love to understand a little bit better. You wrote that you were late diagnosed with autism, and that you spend also much of your time raising awareness for autism in the workplace. I'd love to learn a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is this is an interesting one. I just realized this, it was about a year ago.
Wow.
My wife was watching, she was in the kitchen and the, I don't know, CBS morning show was on, and they had a profile of, I think it was maybe a NASA employee, and she was talking about some of her traits and characteristics. And she said, "You need to watch this. This sounds just like you," in terms of being able to hyper-focus, being able to see patterns or see changes that maybe other people don't pick up, the need for routines. And I was like, oh, wow, and so then I went online and I took several tests, and, there's a scale, and it's like, oh yeah, you're very likely autistic. And it was really just the most remarkable thing, because I had no idea.
Wow.
And that's what I've come to learn is that's a pretty common thing. There's about 2% of the population is autistic, but it's really only in the last 20 years that they really properly started diagnosing people. And so if you go back in time, if you're in your 30s and up, there's a whole population of people that have never been diagnosed, that have no idea they're autistic. And once you realize it, it's like so many things make sense to you. And so you're like, oh, you like relive all of your life events and all your successes and failures. And I can tie almost everything back to that. It's I don't know. It's pretty life-changing. And I bet there's people listening to your podcast that if they're in their 30s and up, it could be 0.5% to 1% are autistic and don't know it.
Wow. How did that change anything? Knowing it, how did that impact?
Yeah, it helps a lot, because it helps set expectations with people in terms of, how I work or how I interact with people, or expectations around social interactions. And, it's more of the issue is like, what I've learned is like between autistic people, there's no issues with communication, but the issue is between autistic and non-autistic people is where the conflict arises. The problem is autistic people are only about 2% of the population. So you're the minority, and you're kind of deemed as doing things the wrong way, when it's really just a different way. It's not, it's this rigidity that's in place. And I kind of see that now. And so to me, it's just, I don't know how to say it other than it's just completely life altering, just having that recognition.
And so how do you now navigate, whether it's in the workplace or anything else? What navigation does this help you now to sort of mitigate the gap between perhaps the expectations and reality? What are some helpful things?
Yeah, so I'm kind of fortunate where like a lot of folks who are autistic are afraid to speak up and say it because it's so stigmatized. But I'm in a position where it's like I don't have any hesitation telling someone, or if something's happening that doesn't work with me, I have no issue speaking up for myself and saying, this environment's not working, and this is why. And then people are like, oh yeah, I get it, no problem. But I don't know, I could probably talk for a couple hours around the idiosyncrasies of it, but I think just having the awareness and having others around me have the awareness, it's just so much better.
Yeah, no, I bet. Well, it's a fascinating subject. So, and thank you for the candidness and the authenticity. Tell me a little bit about Oransi and what you've built over the last 13 years.
Yeah, so I started this business so the e-commerce business I referred to earlier, I sold to my business partner in 2009, and I started this as a brand, initially to make air purifiers, and, it's kind of evolved over time, and it really took a life of its own with COVID hit. It was, most people are like, whatever about HEPA air purifiers. But when COVID hit, it just went insane in terms of the demand for the product, and so many new brands getting into the space. It's, before there weren't a lot of brands in the air purifier space, but when COVID hit, it's like doubled. It's been really interesting to watch. It's some really big brands get into the space. But for us, one of the things about being autistic is you tend to be more on the innovation side, and really digging into the details and looking for the opportunities. And I've been working on this for several years, but we partnered or merged with an electric motor company in Radford, Virginia, about a year and a half ago. And that's really, I think, going to put us on a different trajectory going forward, to where we have a new motor technology and really going to base a whole series of products off of that platform made in Virginia. The biggest challenge with made in USA is, Consumer Reports and Reuters did some surveys, and they found between 70 and 80% of people prefer American-made products, but most don't want to pay any premium. And so that's the challenge. And so that's what we've solved for. And that's what I'm really excited about for 2023 and going forward is we've kind of gone back and redesigned some products and come up with a new way to make electric motors that allows us to really compete very well with any import in terms of price or performance.
Tell me a little bit about building a brand for direct to consumer. What was that like? What did you find successful? What did you find challenging in creating a brand that needs to create, obviously, trust? And it sounds like this is something that's a pretty big, not just financially wise, it's also a big financial purchase, but it requires also some commitment from the customers to buy into your technology, to buy into your brand and trust you.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because in the marketplace, the customers don't really care about you. You have to, like earn their trust. And what I would say is what we did when we started, we started with there was just three of us, and we outsourced a number of functions, a bit like Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. It's like, you just kind of find people and outsource. And there's a lot of services right now where you can outsource a lot of things as a brand. But the one thing we didn't outsource was customer service. And so with our products, we made the phone number prevalent. The demographic tends to skew a bit older. It's people that buy air purifiers are people with the weaker respiratory systems. And so it's more likely a senior citizen, or it's maybe a young mom with a child. And so we knew who our audience was, and we spoke to them and we addressed their concerns, and we were like a human being to them. And people really appreciate it. Like, you call and somebody answers the phone that can answer your questions and guide you through. And if we weren't the right product, we would direct them to a different brand that says, what you're looking for is a little bit outside the scope of what we do. We suggest you go with this product because we know the market. And people like that, and they talk about it. And so, that's really kind of what we've been about, is really just taking care of customers above all else.
How do you think your own personal experience with your son sort of impacted that?
Yeah, because we build products that are, do what they do what we say they do, and they're safe. There's a lot of, I would just call it like snake oil out there, where people are trying to make a quick buck. And to me, it's really unethical when it's somebody that has a respiratory issue and you're trying to, clean the air for them. And so, for us, it's just being truthful about what the product does and answering the customer's questions is the simple. But it's shocking how many people or other brands don't really know the market or know what they're selling. It's almost like any other appliance.
Yeah.
And from my perspective of having a son who suffered with asthma, it is like, this is not just an appliance, if it works well.
100%. What are the the benefits that you reap as an organization, we'll say, from high integrity and high trust in what you're representing? How do you as a leader of the organization, how does this impact the experience, the journey?
For the, I guess I'm not sure, for the customer or
for Oransi, for the company.
I mean, to me, it's really rewarding. I just know, like, from a marketing standpoint, if you can be honest and customers like you, they'll talk about you, and you want them to talk about you favorably. And it's just rewarding to see the reviews and see how people's lives have been impacted for the positive. And if there is, very rare exception, someone has an issue, we, always bend to the benefit of the customer. It's kind of like treat your customer like you would like to be treated, and the rest takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the vision of the company?
The vision is we are, so right now we're really transitioning. We're kind of back to a startup mode with what we're doing after the merger. So we're in a electric motor technology company with a sustainable mission. And so we're reshoring our manufacturing. We're going to make our motors and our air purifiers in-house with probably 90% plus of the content sourced locally, in terms of raw materials or plastics and things like that, that go into the product. And we're really about, really being a market leader, but driving performance, and we know price is important. So the other thing I see happening is with our technology, I grew up in the 80s and, computer programming, and it was kind of interesting. At that time, there were a lot of folks that were like, oh, computers will never be anything, or, it was even before the internet was a thought. And, that industry really took off. And what I see now is clean energy is really the next big industry, especially with climate change. And I think the motor technology we have is going to play a critical role in the move to electrification. Since what we've built has higher performance and lower costs than the existing motors on the marketplace.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tell me a little bit about the technology. Yeah, what's happening in air purification systems? I think this will be fascinating to a lot of listeners.
Yeah, I mean, so air cleaning is really not very complicated to understand in concept. It's really just about moving enough air for the size of your space and then filtering out what passes through the filters. I mean, it's pretty simple of a concept, but it's difficult to do in practice because there's noise, there's how big's your space, and are you moving enough air, and do you have proper filters? But that's the challenge everyone faces. And, the HEPA filter is really the best technology for removing particulates, which is mainly what people want removed. And, that technology has been around for 40, 50 years. So it's kind of interesting that what works is what's been around a long time. And what we're seeing is some new technologies come out, but if you listen to the experts, it's all unproven and not as effective. And so what we're focused on is what works, which is, just HEPA filtration.
And from the energy conscious side, from a sustainability approach, you mentioned something about that. Well, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so in terms of reshoring our manufacturing, we're really doing a couple things, and sustainability is a big part of it, is in us manufacturing the products here, and then we ship direct to the end user. We're really shrinking the supply chain to our facility for the most part, and some local suppliers. And so it's not being made in China under who knows what conditions and then shipped across the ocean, which adds pollution, and then shipped 3 times in the U.S. It's like it's as efficient as possible, and we're just reducing, every step possible in doing, pretty much the entire thing ourselves. And so, from a sustainability standpoint, we're making it to the U.S. environmental standards. We have minimal waste, and in terms of shipping, which there's pollution involved in there, we've minimized that as well. So I think from a sustainability, we've got a pretty strong story, and we're doing it going to be doing it at a price point that's going to be competitive. It doesn't have the green premium, which is a problem for a lot of U.S. made products.
I love it. So, you kind of answered this throughout the show, but it's still my favorite question. Where's the big moments of delight that you get in your day to day?
So, I just like the process. I don't know if there's any one moment. I just like doing the work. That's the, interesting thing about being autistic is I get dopamine from just working. It doesn't have to be anything big. It's just like if I'm working on the business, I'm excited, or if I'm learning about something that could help the business or help customers, then I'm very interested in that. And so, I don't know. I don't know how else to answer it, but it's just the work itself and the process is, to me, what's fun.
Well, I really want to thank you for your time and for the insights and the openness and authenticity. This was a really enjoyable conversation for me, and I am wishing you best of luck with the future of Oransi and everything else that you'll do. And so thank you again, Peter. I'm going to continue cheering from the side, and stay safe and stay healthy.
All right. Thanks, Michael. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.